Mike, check one, two. It's the Y2K Collector. And if you want to get the video game community emotional, just start talking about Nintendo. Just all you got to do is make a video about Nintendo, and you are going to get one of two types of people getting extremely emotional in the comment section. You're either going to get the person who hates Nintendo, absolutely just abhors everything about Nintendo. Or you're going to get the person who is a Nintendo fanatic, right? And they love Nintendo, and they just, they absolutely, will bleed red, right, for Nintendo. And it's always so funny to me, the visceral reaction that happens anytime Nintendo content is produced. And it's not just here on this channel. I mean, it's on any channel. You go on any channel, and some of the most watched videos and some of the most commented videos are the videos regarding Nintendo. Now, the thing that I love about this channel is that it's primarily made up of uh, a group of independent thinkers, people who are able to critically think, independently think, and come to their own conclusions as to how they feel about a certain video game, a video game company, a console. That's what I love about this channel. And if people disagree, they know how to present arguments for why they disagree. And it becomes a debate, and it becomes a great topic of conversation. And I think that's what makes this community awesome. Um, Also, I don't really see a lot of, like, there's not a lot of emotional people in this group. And I'm not saying emotions are a completely bad thing, right? Like, I'm not Tuvok or anything like that. I'm not I'm not some type of drone, right? We have emotions, but there's just some things you don't get emotional about. And video games isn't one of them. Like, Nintendo doesn't know you, they don't care about you. So, why anyone would get emotional about the topic of anything Nintendo blows me away. Thankfully, like I said, this community is made up of people who aren't emotionally charged or driven by anything Nintendo related. But every once in a while, we'll get the stragglers. We'll get the people who haven't been around at this channel a long time, who will come along, see one video, and have a very emotional reaction to one video that they see. And that was the video that I put out yesterday, where I said people need to stop crying about the game keycard. Now, I kind of figured it would get like a certain type of reaction, because when the Switch came out and I made a bunch of videos talking about how much the game keycard was a bad idea, how people weren't fans of it, how it wasn't going to work, how, people aren't going to buy into it, there was an overwhelming sense of, yeah, Y2K, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, I completely agree. Like, all the people who hate Nintendo, like, they were like, yeah, like, all that stuff. And then, it's like, it's funny. It was just funny. And then you make a video and you're telling people like, hey, like the purpose of that video, when I made that video, was me saying, like, primarily saying, like, I chose to wait to buy a Switch 2 because once I heard about the key card and I heard about other things related to the Switch 2, I realized, you know what? I don't think this is something that I want to buy into yet, because I'm a path of least resistance type of guy. You know what I'm saying? Um, I'd rather watch, sit, and wait and see what happens before I buy the console, be upset with it, be upset with how Nintendo's doing things, especially with the game key card, and then feel like I have to champion a cause for them to produce more physical games where the entire game is on a physical cartridge, right? That's just me, though. I'm a path of least resistance type of guy. I've got too much going on to try and fight that fight at this stage in life. Now, for those who do want to pick up the mantle and fight that fight, I've got nothing against that. I think, a lot of you commented on that video, and I heard two things, right? The first thing that I heard was, well, Y2K, I disagree. We have to let our voice be heard so that Nintendo will respond to what we're saying, and hopefully changes will come. And to that I say, what can I say? That's the power of free speech. Um, when you have a rally cry, and if you cry loud enough, sometimes change does happen. Things do happen. I mean, we saw it. A good example of that would be when Sony had planned on shutting down, I forgot which store they planned on shutting down. Was it the PlayStation 3 store or a 2 store or one of the, I forget which one it was, but Nintendo, not Nintendo, Sony had planned on shutting down one of their e-stores, PlayStation stores. And the outcry from the gaming community was so loud that they decided to postpone it. So I totally agree that if you rally loud enough, hard enough, it could possibly create change. So I'm not gonna deny that. I think there's validity there, and I'd be, stupid to not acknowledge that, right? The second thing that I heard in the comments was that a lot of people saying, "No, I know what I'll do. I'll just vote with my wallet. I just won't buy. I won't participate." And that's essentially what I was saying in the video, and that's the message that I've been driving honestly ever since the Switch 2 came out, and I've been making videos on it, which is why I always say I'm not buying a Switch 2. Me saying I'm not buying a Switch 2 is me saying I'm voting with my wallet. It means me saying I don't agree with some of the things that they're doing with the Switch 2. So what I'm going to do is vote with my wallet and not even buy into the console at all, right? I'm not gonna not like what Nintendo's doing, still buy their product, and then after having the product, now decide to fight for the things I don't like. Like, to me, that's just I don't know. To me, that seems like the more difficult path. The easier path, and more importantly, the more effective path is voting with your wallet by saying, you know what, I'm not gonna buy these game key cards. As a matter of fact, you know what, I'm not even gonna buy Switch 2 until you guys figure this nonsense out because there's no point in me buying it. And that's what I've done since this whole thing was announced, since the Switch 2 was announced. That's what I've done. And I think, when I look through the comments and I see, the people who are making that statement, like, I'm voting with my wallet. I'm not gonna cry. I'm just gonna vote with my wallet and not participate. To me, that's the most effective thing that you could do in this situation, because nothing grabs a company's attention more swiftly than the financial impact on the bottom line. If people aren't buying games, if they're not buying the key cards, if those key cards are sitting on shelves, if after Nintendo spends all this time and energy announcing all these amazing games that are going to be coming out on key cards and no one buys the key cards, guess what they're going to realize after a while? They're going to realize, you know what, the consumer's voting with their wallet. We need to course correct. My point was, buying the game, buying the console, buying the games, buying the key cards, and then complaining about it doesn't make sense. That's like you being in a relationship with a girl who treats you bad and you want her to treat you better, but you keep buying her gifts all the time and taking her out to dinner and buying her the things that she wants and spoiling her, and then at the same time, demanding her to treat you better. We're not doing anything to put her in a position to force her to treat you better, right? You're still giving her everything she wants. Why would she change? And so it's the same thing with Nintendo. If you're still buying their products, if you're still buying their key cards, if you're still participating in, the whole Switch 2 launch, and then you're complaining about it, why would you expect Nintendo to change? Why would you expect them to do anything different? And so I think that the two sides, right, or the responses that I've got, again, I'm not going to knock anyone who wants to rally cry, or, I guess champion a cause for Nintendo to do something different. I just don't see it as the most effective path. What I think is the most effective path is voting with your wallet, and that's why I've yet to buy a Switch 2. All that being said, from a YouTube standpoint, again, it is just hilarious, just to see some of the comments, and they're always coming from these people who have only commented on one video. Maybe the algorithm pushed that one specific video to them, and so they kind of react to that video. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. This is a subscribe at your own risk channel. I'm not gonna say everything that you want to hear all the time. If you're looking for an echo chamber, the internet is filled with places that can provide that for you. This is not an echo chamber space. I say what I want. I say how I feel. If I'm wrong, then I'll come back on here and say, "Well, I was wrong about that." But my feelings and opinions on things, they are what they are. If you're looking for a YouTube channel that's gonna stroke your ego, make you feel better about decisions you've made, any of that stuff, you're at the wrong spot, man. And this is a big part of the reason why I always say subscribe at your own risk. I don't ask people to subscribe. I don't ask people to turn on the notification bell. I mean, maybe I've done it once or twice in the past, but for those of you who watch my videos regularly, that's not something that I do here. Um, and it's because I don't want, when the day comes that I say something that you don't agree with, you have these emotional reactions. Like, it's just not becoming. Um, we're most of you are adults. Well, my analytics tell me that everyone who watches this channel is at least over 17 for the most part. There's maybe a small percentage of you who are, in the teenage, like 12 to whatever, 12 to 16 or something. And I guess I could expect that from like that age group maybe. But once you hit a certain age, man, come on, get your emotions in check. Um, think critically. Be less emotional. It's only video games, right? Like at the end of the day, we're not talking about we're not talking about politics. We're not talking about world hunger. We're not talking about um, you know, the financial situation in this country. We're not talking about anything. We're not talking about anything serious. These are first world problems we have. When we're complaining about game key cards, those are first world problems. Keep that in mind, right? Like there are people who are waking up thinking like, dang, like what am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? Like arguing over stuff like that and getting emotional about that, that makes sense to me. So if you are a person who is transient and you come on my channel with just this, with foolishness, one of two things: either I'm going to roast you or I'm going to block you. So just expect that, because if I say something that you don't agree with, or if you don't like the content, or if you just think I'm lame or boring, then you'll just ignore it and you'll move on. But people who come to channels and comment, you want to be seen, you want to be acknowledged. I'll acknowledge you and then I'll dismiss you. But it's not that serious, guys. But I do think it's funny. I do respect the people who are trying to make change, I guess. If your thought process is, hey, if we complain loud enough, Nintendo will change, I can respect that argument, because I've seen that happen with Sony when they course corrected on their decision to shut down their e-store. So there's validity in that argument, and I do think change can be made if the collective group rallies hard enough. Um, but at the end of the day, I still do think that the most effective way to rally is with your wallet. If you say, I'm not going to buy, I'm not going to participate, I'm not going to do this, and ignore the product, that will speak a lot about way more than any Reddit forums, YouTube videos, social media posts. That will ring bells way louder and way faster, in my opinion, than anything else. But you guys let me know what you think. It is a beautiful Friday. A lot of things going on this Friday that we got to get ready for. Super excited. I've got my bag here packed, all the camera gear. We're getting ready to take off. Super excited about the family time that we're going to spend. It's the end of the summer vacation. Some people like to take vacation at the beginning of the summer. I like to do it in the end. One last hurrah before we get back to the humdrum of the fall and school and work and all that stuff. So I am super stoked for this time we're going to spend in paradise. And I will take you all along for part of the journey. The channel members will definitely get more insight into all the happenings. But until then, hopefully you all have an amazing weekend. That does it for me. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.